So welcome to episode 2, everyone. My name is Ashley Aarons, and I'm sitting here with Melinda Sapasi. Did I say that right?
Almost right.
Okay.
How Ollie, my partner, teaches everyone's sepesci.
Oh.
I'm not Italian, but
That sounds Italian.
But since then, everyone can say my name correctly because it's clear. When you talk in Italian accent, I guess you sound clear. So it's sepesci. But if you want to say in Italian way, it's sepesci.
So we're doing in our episode 2. I'm now taking the role of the interviewer, and I'm going to interview Melinda today.
Yay.
And talk about her beginnings into why she started practicing yoga, what brought her into teacher training, and all of that stuff. So, Melinda.
Yes.
Tell me, how did you first get into practicing yoga? What was your very first experience going to class like? What brought you there?
First time I went to yoga is because I wanted to lose weight. I think there are different reasons people going into yoga, and for me it was very selfish reasons, trying to lose weight. So I'm coming from a background of modeling. I've been modeling by then, I think, 3 years, not 2 years. And I remember in 2009 when I met my agent, I was 16, she told me I have to lose weight. And I've always been the slimmest in my class. Everyone told me like, your BMI is wrong, you need to gain weight. And then going into a meeting and they said like, oh, you need to lose about 5 centimeters. And like 5 centimeters is like 5 kilograms. And at 16, you're like, oh, okay, I did not know I need to lose weight. So I started exercising. I did all kinds of sort of things to try to lose the weight, but I was 16, so I didn't really care. I still ate my white bread and all the Frosties for breakfast. So I was not taught proper nutrition. So in the beginning, I was always just exercising, very bad exercising. But then after years of trying everything, my friend was like, why don't you try Bikram yoga? Because it's sweaty and apparently very good. You get flexible, but also you will be calm from it. So I went to Bikram class with my best friend, Oleg, and God, I never sweated so much. It's disgusting. But I was like, maybe this is going to work. I'm going to sweat out all the fat. I don't know, when you're 16, 17, you think you can sweat out all the fat. So that brought me to yoga in 2011. And I remember practicing for like a month. Then when my the month's offer has expired, I didn't want to pay as much as it was. So I went to a new studio. But it was still a Bikram studio, and I'm like, I'm just getting really bored of this 28 postures, or 26 postures and 2 breathing exercises. So after a while, I was like, I don't actually really like it, and nothing really changed. I liked it, but not as much as I wanted to practice yoga forever. So I kind of left it. If I lost weight, who knows? But yeah, I definitely left yoga for 4 years. And I only came back to yoga when I moved to London and I had way too much time on my hand. I was like, let's try this yoga thing again.
Yeah.
So then I returned back and I haven't looked back since. So when did I start? I guess I would say 2015, not 2011.
Yeah.
But I did try it in, and Bikram classes are good to get people in, to draw people in. But after a while, I felt like it's not a place I want to be, especially with my teacher running around in Speedos and doing all the postures and not adjusting anything. Also, this was in Hungary, and this guy was teaching in English, which was very better.
Okay.
But at least I could learn about how to listen to yoga in English, which is quite good. So yeah, that's what brought me to yoga, is losing weight.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, started a modeling career. Yeah, I tried Bikram too at the beginning, and I found it was really boring really fast, and I just stopped going because I couldn't stand the smell of the room. Like, it was potent.
I don't think you can ever go to a Bikram studio that smells good. Also, it's interesting how what I thought that I think it's the heat made me flexible and not actually me being flexible. So I always felt like I'm a bit cheating myself. So for me, it's just an interesting concept. But yeah, I'm glad that I have tried it, but I'm glad to be out as well.
Okay, perfect. So what type of yoga did you practice when you moved to London?
So when I moved to yoga, again, I went to a hot studio because that was the nearest to me, and they had all kind of classes, and I really enjoyed the power yoga classes.
Okay.
So probably people can hear it from my speech. I talk quite fast because I am quite excited and an anxious type of person.
High energy type of person.
Definitely.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I need a practice that doesn't stop, just going, because then I stop thinking. So I think the first time, because so many things wasn't happening, the vinyasas and the movement, so I was like, okay, this is for me because I have no time to think about anything else other than what I'm doing. So they were doing lots of power yoga classes and really enjoyed them. But then I went to this studio called Power Yoga Studio on Parsons Green, and again, lots of power classes. And that's where I was like, actually, I really enjoy this. I feel so much better. I can feel I'm calmer. I'm really easy to get anxious, but when I'm in class, when I'm practicing, that's the only time I'm like, okay, it's okay. I let go and I settle. So it made me feel very good. And that's where I met some of my teachers who actually started to correct me, who started to help me with my practice. So I had started to understand of what the hell am I doing? I still didn't really know, but I felt like, okay, I'm getting a grasp of it. And I think that's where I also decided to take a teacher training after 2 months. So, yeah.
So you're practicing from the 2015 when you moved to London for 2 months before you decided to take a teacher training program?
Exactly.
Okay.
So because
what made you go into that?
So I had so much time on my head. So with modeling, it's very unreliable. You have months when you work so much, you're traveling the world, and then you have months when you have nothing on. So I moved to London because I was traveling around for 3 years around the world. Every 2 months I was in a new place. And I remember being 17, crying to my mom that I don't want to go back to New York. I don't want to go anywhere. I wanted to be home. And then she said, I chose to be a model. I chose this lifestyle of being a nomad, traveling around. But it started to get too much. I had no base. I didn't know who I belonged to. I had to find new friends all the time. Never knew anyone, new languages, so I started to feel a bit unsettled. And then so I moved to London to have a base. I had family here, so I felt comfortable and I worked very well. Modeling was very good here. But after I think 6 months, I did probably work with most of the clients you can work with, and everything started to slow down.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I have the money and I have the time, so what do I do with it? And that's why I was like, I actually really like yoga. I don't really understand what I'm doing, but to do something with my time, I'm going to do a teacher training. So I had no intention of teaching. I just wanted to know what the hell am I doing. And I do think so many people, it's so true.
Fair enough.
So when I enrolled on my teacher training, so I really liked the teacher Marcus Wada. Probably many people heard about him, rocket teacher in East London.
Yeah, I practiced with Marcus loads.
And then he was quite small back then, and he had small classes, and it was just quite good. But I really liked how he approached me, how he helped me in my practice. So I stalked him to see where did he train. So I saw it's the yoga people, so I was like, I'm gonna book this. And it was an Ashtanga and rocket teacher training. I did not know what is Ashtanga, did not know what is rocket, so I just went. And they said, so it was a bit bad, because they sent us this video of Patabi Joyce on YouTube, an hour and a half primary series, just a video of them doing it. They said, like, practice this. So I got my friend Greta to practice it with me, and we were just like an hour in.
The primary series video on YouTube with Patabi Joyce?
Yes. We had no idea.
For the face of heart.
It starts with, this is not an exercise video. And we're like, oh my god, it was embarrassing. And I think an hour in, Greta was like, what the hell is this? And we couldn't do half of the postures. It was looking ridiculous, but we just did it. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
It's so bad, we didn't know what we're doing. And I went to my teacher training, it was the same. First class, no hellos, nothing, and just said, get on the mat. And then we did the chanting, the Ashtanga opening chanting, and like, what the hell is this? We did a primary series, half an hour meditation, and we said our goodbyes. Like, shit, what did I get myself into?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They wanted to drop us into the deep end. Like, this is actually a serious business, you're not here to just muddle around. So I was like, oh my god, this is scary. But next day we had the introduction and everything was good.
Mm-hmm.
But literally I had no idea what's Ashtanga or rocket, but I really loved it. And it taught me a lot about myself. And I think teacher trainings are very good because your teachers kind of need to break you down.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through lots of emotional shit. I'm sorry in my language, but I think when every day I learn something, like, oh my god, what is this? I need to share this to my friends. I need to tell this to my sister. And that's why halfway through the course, like, actually, I think I want to teach this because more people should know about this. This is something life-changing, and how we can give this to other people. So I think teacher trainings are amazing place where you have to be vulnerable. You have to go through all the depths of your subconscious in a way, but it's not going to happen in 200 hours, but it did break me for sure. So it was a good start for me to learn about myself and why I'm so anxious and why I'm so all over the place. It helped me ground. I think it's a great experience.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said about going to teacher trainings, and that's a place where like you really break through some things.
Yeah.
I've had really profound changes in my yoga teacher trainings, and just felt like, okay, this is the beginning of wherever this leads to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't do it in 200 hours. It's a lifetime of work, and we know that because we've both been practicing for a long time now.
Yeah.
How long have you been practicing now? So you said 2015.
Yeah, so it's 8 years. So it's interesting when I say to people that I've been practicing 8 years. Oh, actually, it might be 2014 because I did my teacher training in 15, and there was quite a big break in between. But I've been teaching 8 years and practicing 8.5, probably not even more.
Yeah.
But also because many people like you think you need to have such a strong practice to go to a teacher training, and you should. I mean, my teacher told me in the end of the course that, so when I seen you doing chaturangas on your mat, I wasn't sure you will be making through this whole thing, because my chaturanga was a mess, I think. Yeah. But I could do king pigeon. Like, I was very flexible. So when I started, because I was very supple, very flexible, I could do very advanced postures, but I couldn't do a chaturanga.
Okay.
And I couldn't do a headstand, of course. But my strengths built over that 3 months so much. And also they saw my diligence of like, I actually want to be here. I'm actually want to do this. So I would not recommend people to jump into teacher training, but also for me that was the right way. I'm a person of like, I'm going head first.
Yeah.
And I suck up and then do everything. But I'm not going to regret it, because it changed my life and it gave me a career. And I think I'm still working, as you said, it's lifetime work, but I'm much better where I was back in the days.
Yeah.
So it's.
So then it was your perfect path.
Yeah,
I know it's hard to ever know or like advise people when they ask you how long should I be doing yoga or practicing yoga before I do my teacher training, and like generally it's about a 2-year recommendation, but we both went to teacher trainings before that 2-year mark just because of like personal reasons, and then feeling like those were transformative, and moving through a lot of healing.
But I think also, like, I did my 200 hours over 3 months, over weekends.
Okay.
If I would have done my 200 hours in a month, like continuously, I think I would have not been able to complete it.
Okay.
So for me, in a way, it was a very lucky thing that there was a course that was over 3 months every weekend. So I could digest it.
Yeah.
Also, every Monday morning, I couldn't stand up and I couldn't walk because I was so broken.
Yeah.
But it helped me build my strengths. So for me, I think everything happened for a reason, and I kind of believe in that. And I think people can question if they are in the right path. I mean, yoga won't be for everyone. And then, sometimes I feel like it's not for me all the time, but also I really love it. So I love the teaching, and I wish we wouldn't need to do administration and marketing and stuff, but the yoga is always going to be constant that I like and I want to keep doing. Yeah. So it's a great practice.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the business of teaching in another episode, because we have a lot to say about that, but we'll keep that for another episode. So what is your favorite type of yoga, just to cap all of this off? Is it Raka? Is it Ashtanga? Is it Bikram?
Oh my god. Maybe it should be Bikram. No, my favorite is mandala.
Oh, okay.
So I did my 500 hours with my teachers, the yoga people, and Dulcie has created this mandala sequence. I mean, it has been around. Mandala is not, she didn't invent mandala, but she created her own sequence and how to interpret all the knowledge she learned over 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's a practice that follows the elements, and I really believe in the energies of people. I do believe in like we have been kind of like ruled over by these different elements, that you working from your fire when you're working with your strengths and your personal not ego but your healthy ego, because everyone has to have a healthy ego, like knowing like who am I, why I'm doing what I want, or like you're working from your water when you think about your creativity, or you want to be a bit more fluid in your life. So I really can relate into these different elements and how they translate into our practice. And I never, because people ask me if I've been a dancer, and that's a funny question because I have the worst sense of rhythm. Like I used to dance, and my dad always said like, "Oh my god, you were always one step ahead. It just looks ridiculous." He didn't say it looks ridiculous, but he probably thought. So now everyone asks me like, "Have you been a dancer?" Because when I practice, I like to have nice subtle moves, and with mandala, I feel like I can create those moves and nice fluidity on my mat. I love Ashtanga, but I think it would break it would be broken with it always doing the same movement. I really love going back to it because it feels comfortable in my body, as you said it as well. But I think it's more, I like creativity. I like to change up, and that's how I teach as well. I never teach the same sequence because I like changing. It's my mind needs it. So mandala is probably going to be my practice.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I've tried it a couple times. It is really nice practice.
Nice and fluid.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to add about your beginnings that we haven't covered? I was kind of thinking, like, did yoga help you with the moving through modeling at all with mental health? Because I was thinking, like, maybe you were saying having to start again and build new friendships from so much traveling.
Yeah, I mean, I think modeling is. So it's interesting, I came from the modeling world, which is all about superficial things, like how you look and you have the right eye color for this job or not. So I came from a background where you were judged by how I looked and not by what I'm worth or who am I. And I remember they always told us you have to be like a canvas. So you just wore simple black clothes, no makeup, and we never been shown that you should be showing your personality. And then I realized throughout the years that actually my personality was getting some of the jobs, but then I was like, can I show it or not? So it made you feel very self-conscious. And then you see all these pretty girls and they all look very confident, but everyone's actually very self-conscious because actually like, why am I not getting this job? Is it because how I look, or I'm too fat, or da-da-da-da? So I think it's a very toxic environment in that point of view. And I stopped modeling when I could see that Instagram was taken over and how many followers have defined how many jobs I get, and like, oh, I really don't want to be part of this.
It's hard.
It is very hard, but also it just distorts your personal image. So I remember just being at home and just constantly just grabbing my inner thighs, just looking for like, oh no, it's wobbly again. And my dad always said like, why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? Because he was like, why do you just keep grabbing your thighs? And I was always ashamed to say that, oh, it's because I'm checking if I'm gaining weight, or spending Christmases not eating anything because you know that Fashion Week is coming and you need to be your skinniest. And I've never been my skinniest self, so it definitely changed on how I view myself. And then when I went to yoga, that was the only place where I didn't feel judged. I'm not very good at team sports, so I always found like if a team relies on me, that stresses me out. No, I don't want to be out. But then when you go to yoga, you just go, doesn't matter if you can do headstand, you might not have the best practice, but you can just do whatever you want. And it made me feel safe, and then it made me feel a bit happier about my body, because also I could do postures that were quite hard, so obviously that boosted my confidence. But I needed it because I was always very self-conscious of my body and how I look. And it's just interesting how it went full circle, because now I'm trying to do yoga modeling and I'm way too skinny for it. So I'm like falling between two chairs. Too big for high fashion and too small for sports. And
Really?
I'm like, we're talking about all inclusivity nowadays, and then but
Yeah.
I just always feel like, oh, but now I'm like a skinny model-looking girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm one of the most boring things you can look for. So I feel like I don't get really any more jobs, which is, I'm glad that, you know, everyone's being represented, and but I just do feel like I want to be modeling because I like being in front of a camera. I love to put in personalities and being a different person, but I can't really do much more work because I'm too skinny for sport and too big for high fashion. So it's just like, it's very sad, but I think I'm learning just to let go and go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I guess our industry is changing as well with yoga, that you can be influencers and you can be so many different things. And I just want to be a yoga teacher because I've been...
Yeah, you have to wear so many hats in this industry. And
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
But yeah, I think these topics are always, there's so much to talk about, but I think we can always refer back to past. But yeah, this is just to get started, and we can see where our podcast takes us. It's
I'm excited.
Good experiment.
Get stories and accounts of beginnings of teaching and teaching experiences from other teachers too along the way. So thanks for listening, everybody, and see you next time.
Thank you.